This month we decided to do something a little bit different that I would like to continue, which is including a feature for a cast member in addition to the preview for the upcoming episode. That episode, by the way, is coming out November 30th. So this month's feature is my interview with Leonid Lawrence after the preview. So don't turn the dial.
Troops, I speak to you tonight, not as your president, nor as your leader, but as your fellow soldier in the fight against this most festive of seasons. In these difficult times, we must remember that we are the last sparkly, tinsel-covered line of defense against those who would take Christmas from us. They're out there, men. The Anti-Christmas Brigade. With their winter breaks and their holiday parties, and their plain red non-Christmassy Starbucks cups. They're coming into your house. They're stealing all of your trees and your stockings and your presents, just like the Grinch. They're out there stalking our wildernesses, like the abominable snowman. They're chasing your children down on their way to school, like those bullies in A Christmas Story. And they're coming to empty their sewage tanks onto your yard, like Cousin Eddie. We cannot let these humbugs win! What's next, men? The attack on Easter? The battle for birthdays? The struggle for St. Patrick's Day? No more! Boys, it's time to deck their halls and to make them hear those herald angels sing! So pick up your official Red Ryder carbine action 200-shot range model air rifles with a compass in the stock and that little thing that tells time and get ready to shoot their eyes out! Troops, let's sing a sleighing song tonight! It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas! Oh, ho, 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 ho.
So today I'm interviewing Leo. Leo has been a part of, I believe it's 3 episodes now? Yeah, three episodes. For
I'm old hat now.
Yeah, you are officially a veteran, so welcome to the Veterans Club.
Great. Is it just me? Am I the only one, or are there more?
We got John Mark. He was in.
Yeah, John.
Yeah. But no, actually, come to think of it, he's not in this upcoming episode. He, just like you, have actually helped collaborate with the scripts for the last 2 episodes now. And your expertise in dungeon mastering has been providential to the cause, as this episode actually.
As it were.
So tell me, Leo. You go by Leo, right?
I do, yes.
Okay, and. Your name is kind of hard to pronounce, so I feel like I might have screwed it up on the last episode. But tell me how to say your name.
So, my full name is Leonid. I use normally, like, when I'm doing any recording, I'm Leonid Lawrence, which is just much easier, just as a name where I like it. The main thing, Leonid is my actual legal name. But Leo is fine. You know, it's the kind of thing where, like, back in school, if there was ever, like, a substitute teacher or something, I'd just wait for the pause, and then I'd just say here, because no one ever, like, attempts to say my name, like, straight through. So that was always the kind of thing growing up, yeah. But,
so, Leonid, Lawrence. Yes. So... They would say that a lot in your acting classes, like drama.
Well, actually, the interesting thing there is I have only taken like 1 or 2 acting classes ever, which was like I did. If you want me to launch into this, it was something where like I did the plays, I did the musicals. Kind of not to say come from like a theatrical family, but a bunch of people that are just huge personalities and stuff like that. So I started doing stage work. Oh, that sounds so lofty, but like stage work in like middle school is where I really came back to start doing it. And then senior year of high school, the drama teacher who I knew forever because I had been in all the shows and whatnot was like, you should probably take one of the acting classes. You have an actual idea of what you're doing. Like, it was advanced acting, so it wasn't like, hey, this is how, like, you stand on stage or something. It was like, this is when you're wearing a mask, you have to use your body to accentuate what you're trying to say on, and all these things, you know. So it was really cool, but also kind of like, I had no, like, it was kind of building, like, a pyramid on top of a house of cards, where, like, I didn't really have the basics down to really start understanding everything further. But from there, you know, that's where, in music school, right, because I went to school for music, if I had stayed on the acting track, or not the acting track, excuse me, the vocal performance track, which is like, I'm going to go be an opera singer on the stage. If I had stayed with that, there would have been a class called Acting for Singers, which I found to be very insulting. But in a very funny way, where, like, it'd be like, hey, if you're singing, don't turn away from the audience. You know, like, that basic stuff that, like, I didn't really get, but, you know, like, just from doing things. But then, I started working with a couple different theater companies, and they had, like, a number of different workshops that I've gone to that's like, oh, I understand now, and have, you know, still always learning, still always trying to do new things. But, you know, like, that's the background on all that. So, yeah.
So you've done a few performances then?
Yes. So when I got into school, I went to the Mason Gross School of the Arts at Rutgers University. It is something where the course program is super rigorous, where, like, I also was a double major. It was something where you didn't really have time, if you were a sane person, to do, like, shows and whatnot, because there's no, like, there was the opera at Rutgers, which I did, but then also there wasn't, like, a Rutgers University musical department, right? Like, because at Mason Gross, since it's a conservatory, there's the music department, the dance department, and then the acting department. And the acting department is, like, the big one, where, like, Sebastian Stan is one of the most recent, like, big name graduates from there, where, like, it's a amazing program, and I had the wonderful fortune of getting a lot of really good friends who were in my year from the acting department. But they are this is a tangent, but they're kind of like ghosts of the program, where, like, you get to see them freshman year, you see them sophomore year, and then junior, they're gone. Like, they disappear junior year, because because they go on a full year trip to the Globe in London, like, to learn and perform there, right? Yeah, insane. But then also because then from then on, like, they've essentially finished their course study as of junior year. So senior year is just preparing them for getting a manager, getting, you know, auditions, all these different things. So it's a ridiculous thing. That is to say, though, that in light of the fact that that is the only, like, theater that officially happens through Rutgers, there are huge student groups on campus that have kind of picked up the slack there. And that was something where, for the first couple of years at school, I couldn't participate and in those things, but then started working with a community theater group that was started up by one of my friends, which got, you know, really took off quickly, and is still growing and is fantastic. Rethink Theatrical, plug there. And then I worked with the student groups on campus for 2 productions, a production of Fun Home at the Black Box Cabaret Theater, and then a production of Sweeney Todd with the Livingston Theater Company.
Yeah. So are there roles that you played that we would recognize?
Yeah, I mean, like, recently, like, a couple of those things, there's been a slew of time in the last, like, 2 years where I've been only cast as a dad, like, various forms of fathers, like, on any end of the spectrum, like, a good dad, a bad dad, where...
So you're typecast as somebody who has kids.
Yes, always. I mean, even in life, like, right, I'm only 24, but I look like I have 2 kids and a mortgage, and I just kind of, right, I just kind of go through with it. But it's something where, like, I was Mr. Mushnick in Little Shop of Horrors. In that production of Fun Home, I was Bruce Bechtel, the father of that, who's, what a character. Then in Sweeney Todd, I was Judge Turpin, which, again, not great. And they left in, if you're familiar with the show, or if anybody's listening is familiar with the show, they left in the whipping scene, which was, I actually had to whip myself on stage, and there's not a good way to, like, make that fake. So, like, I would really, like, dig into my back. It was very weird. And then I think, and then also, like, Lord Capulet, or Capulet in Romeo and Juliet. So I've actually done some Shakespeare, but, like, stuff like that is generally what I've been doing for the last little bit.
So is there a reason that they're typecasting you as a dad? Is it because you have special skills in being a dad, or do you have kids that you don't know of?
Yeah. No, it's almost like no. It's really the main thing. Honestly, is I'm 6'2", so, and I'm also just like a larger person. So it's something where I just am a lot larger than other people on stage for the most part. So that's just something where, like, in Fun Home, like that particular production, like, there are 3 kids in the show, and they were all college students, but I was like 1.5 feet taller than all of them easily. So, like, that was just something for, like, as a visual they wanted to go for. So, like, that's also kind of the thing there.
Yeah, at 5'9", you would be intimidating to me.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Like, well, hello, Leo.
I mean, that's something where there was like, just as another background thing, there was a time when, like, I thought I was gonna play D1 football. Like, I thought that was gonna be what I was gonna do, and then I decided, music really is what I want to do. And yeah, but that's just tie the knot on that. There was, like, a 3-year span of time where I did no theater work at all, just because, like, the program was just so insanely, involved, and then I also felt like it wasn't in me anymore. Like, I dropped my performance major, I was just a music education major, and then I got to do a show. Like, I got such a warm, loving reception from, like, the people who were in it. And then also, like, it just, like, it was the kind of thing where it just completely revitalized me, and was, like, the exact moment where I said, I gotta keep doing this. Like, my heart is so in this still. And it's been going and going. And because of, being in lockdown and the quarantine, I said, I should really buy a microphone, because I've been wanting to do, voice work for a while now. And here we are a couple months later, and I'm here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun being behind the microphone, and even though we're behind the microphone, we have a tendency to use our arms and be super animate.
Well, that's so you'll understand a little bit, because like I was saying before, I'm at my computer, but normally I'm in the closet recording, just because, like, the microphone cord doesn't run long enough to get out to the. So normally what I do is I have this ancient laptop that's in my closet that I record on, and then I put it on a USB. And then have to walk all the things across the room to this computer and then plug it in. I was like, this is a fine way to do it. And then it's just so, like, mundane when I get edits, or, like, someone's like, hey, can you just redo this one thing? I'm like, ugh, you just stand back up, walk across the room, go into the closet. But the thing is that I am as wide as the closet is. So there's times when, like, I'm trying to move my hands and I'm just, like, punching the walls. Like, it's really so it makes recording sometimes very difficult, where, like, I want to be animated and I want to do things, but I'm just, like, stuck in the room. So
is that where you were playing the accordion?
When I gave you the recordings, yeah. So, like, it's something where, like, the accordion gets, like, huge, right? But it's something where I could only operate, like, within about this much motion, which was really funny for me, just because I didn't want to, like, hit the walls and then have that be, like, this huge noise. But yeah, I was in the closet when I recorded it.
Yeah, for everybody listening, the accordion reference is actually in reference to Nicky's sketch in The Big Top Bears. So Leo's the one who actually was the one who played the accordion. So that's Leo.
Yeah.
So special skills, do you have any, like, special skills? You mentioned football, but is there anything else that you play the accordion?
No, I play the accordion. I mean, it's something where, like, I always, like, being the ignorant person that I was, like, I'd always be like, why does this person list, like, a valid U.S. passport on their special skills? And, like, that's something where I just kind of take it for granted, but that's something where, like, friends of mine who are significantly more involved actors than I am certainly have, like, valid U.S. passport, driver's license. I can drive stick. Like that's something that I make.
That's a
I do make sure to pepper in there in case somebody's like, he actually knows how to drive stick, But like, I don't know, like special skills. What a thing, I do have quite a bit of experience at this point in stage combat. Not to the point where I could regularly teach it, but to something where I've taken enough classes at this point that like it's that I love doing stage combat.
So like boffing.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Like with foam swords and stuff.
No. Like typically, like I have a couple ones over actually here. So like I collect a couple of things. Like this is Glamdring from Lord of the Rings and stuff like that.
Well, of course, who doesn't know the name of the sword?
Yeah,
from Lord of the Rings?
That's something where like I have a couple of different swords. Those are not stage combat ready, but typically like you're using real weapons, just that they're not sharpened. A couple of things like that, or they have like a blunted tip. So like I did a production of Robin Hood that like friends of mine wrote, and I was Little John in it, right? Because again,
of course, you're huge.
And I got to use a quarterstaff, and I have it right over there, and it's like way taller than I am. But that was just something that was a lot of fun because one of my dear friends like knows how to use a quarterstaff, like a bow staff, in actual combat, right? So he was like showing me all these crazy moves. And another one of my really good friends, I found out, is like a triple black belt in armed combat.
That's possible?
Yeah, well, in terms of like black belting in not only like hand-to-hand stuff, but also I think in 2 different like martial weapon styles.
Oh, so like you have black belt in nunchucks, and you have a black belt in like
exactly something like that. Yeah.
Oh, no, man, that would not be. Katanas.
I think it might be size if I'm remembering correctly, one of them. So like it's the kind of thing where I'm like, all right, cool, and then you inch away like a little bit because you're like, I don't want you to kill me. Just like one of my dearest friends, but yeah.
Like if we were to actually have a conversation in person, I would have to like stand like a foot and a half back.
Yeah, it's always like, well, yeah, like we've joked about it. We've joked about it where like you're like if like zombie apocalypse happens, who's most dangerous? What's gonna happen? Like I don't know if you have these conversations, but this comes up in my friend groups.
Of course, who doesn't have that conversation?
We always get to her, and we're like, "You're the tough one. You're the tough one because like you take all of us out, like, and you know that you could." And she's like, "Yeah, I know that I could." And we're going like, that makes it worse. That makes it so much worse.
So going forward, do you have any aspirations? Like, is there a progression? Is there somewhere that you're wanting to end up going, or do you know?
I mean, it's something where like there's kind of that split feeling in me, where acting and the stage and any even in the microphone in the closet is such a wonderful thing, and it's so much fun, where like it hasn't clicked in my mind that like someone could do that as a profession, like as like that's what they do. Like that still hasn't clicked for me. But then on the other side of things, like I do work as like a gig musician. Like if there is someone that needs, like typically for choirs, like if a choir needs someone to come in to sing for their concert or something, like that's what I'll do. And like I get paid to do that, and that's just crazy,
I'm
right?
Sure you mentioned this, but talking about singing, so you were talking about stage singing.
Yes.
Okay, so good at singing as well.
Yeah, like my actual thing that I do is I am a vocalist, right? So I am a singer. I can teach choirs, private lessons, stuff like that. For vocal technique, typically like not to say in like a classical style because there's a lot of overlap between things, but like that's what I do primarily, right? In that way. So again, there's that split feeling where like one part of me is going like, well, I really want to teach music and do music, but then there's also this side of it that is like the practical application of like, I still want to be in it, like I don't want to, there's a thing where for a lot of people hiring schools for like teachers, something that they want to see, especially in like the arts, is that you are still active in your field, right? So like it is really cool that like I can say, hey, even though I haven't been able to teach people, you know, or like use anything with choirs or do performances because of everything that's been going on, I've still been working on, you know, different skills, like working with you, working with, you know, various on various projects, you know, for voice work, and that's been really interesting. So it's I think the goal, like the aspiration, is to eventually, not to say merge the two things, but just find that balance where like I can be happy doing those things and like make a living at it, regardless of what it looks like. You know, if it's 85% music teacher by day, 25 voice actor by night, you know, like that's not the worst thing in the world, you know, or like 50% music teacher during the day, and then I do nothing but stage work and theater work and voice work, you know, for everything else, you know, whatever it ends up looking like. I'm just looking to see, you know, because I'm having a blast doing all of it, you know, and that's the thing at the end of the day, that's the most important.
That's awesome. It definitely means a whole lot when you actually find something that you really like to do and you could potentially get paid for it. It's
right. It's insane. Like insane. When I like the first time I got paid to do like music, I was going, really? Like you're not messing with me, right? Like I can keep this? You're like, you sang for us. I'm going like, oh my God, you know, like anyway, you know, and it's just it's so cool.
Yeah, one of these days you'll get a Mercury Theater podcast mug. You're right. You've earned it.
You know what? I lied. That is my aspiration.
Yes.
That's what I've been going for the whole time. That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
merchandising.
I knew that's what it was all about. Man.
Yeah, you knew it. You saw us right through me.
And I'm so glad that I found you and that you auditioned for that first one that you did with Nikki's sketch. Man, so you were the announcer for Nikki's sketch.
I was.
And then for the next one you were Jake.
Yes, I was.
So the Dungeon Master. And,
the Dungeon Master.
Man, talk about your dungeon mastering.
Sure.
Somebody knows a little bit about D&D.
Yeah, so that's something where, you know, in terms of another way to go, I have been watching like all these different actual plays, you know, of people like playing Dungeons and Dragons, or like there's the different podcasts, and I'm going like, wow, if I could tap into this, that would be like chef's kiss, you know, like, but it's the kind of thing where it's so like hesitant, where you're going like, I've been playing D&D for, you know, 6 years now, and I don't know if I know enough to do it, because there's always going to be somebody going like, well, on page 133 of the player's handbook. But in terms of the background of the D&D, one of my friends in the acting department at Rutgers said, you know, like, hey, you should come play Dungeons and Dragons. And and this was at a time in life where I went like, Dungeons and Dragons, that's for nerds, you know, like, and I
yeah.
And then
anybody who's honest with themselves will admit that there was a point where they said D&D.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know exactly when that happened for me, and then it was in college, and then I had a buddy who played D&D, and I've always wanted to do it, and it's like one of those secret like desires that you have, but you're not willing to admit it. And it was only a few months ago when my brother-in-law mentioned something about my brother-in-law who passed away. It was like, you know, he was that type of person who would get you to do something that you secretly wanted to do, but weren't willing to admit it to yourself. And I'm like, yeah, that's the person that I needed in my life. I needed somebody who played Dungeons and Dragons and say, you know what? You're coming with me, and we're playing this, and you're going to have fun. And then just do it. But I just never had that opportunity.
Yeah.
But you had that point, and then there was a turning around period for you.
Yeah, and I mean, it was something where I remember it started off me and my friend Nick and my friend Aiden and my roommate Aiden, and then our friend John, and then like it just kind of grew, and it ended up being like a 2-year game, you know, like, and it's this thing, and like all these people, and it's this thing where like I remember there was some psychological study where they were talking about how like when you play D&D, it activates the part of your brain that's like for really visceral memories. So it's this amazing thing where like we still talk about things that happened in that campaign, and the thing is that none of us remember like us sitting in the room. None of us remember like, oh, I was here, Greg was over there, you know, Connor was over there. You know, it's like, oh, hey, Drendar really did something funny there, and like, hey, remember when Gary Bowman, like the elf archer, you know, accidentally, you know, killed a whole bunch of different people, you know, and it like that's the thing that's so amazing about it, is that it kind of just activates this communal storytelling thing, that it's such a visceral experience and memory. So that's why now, you know, amidst everything, I'm playing 6 games a week, you know, which is just, yeah, you know, like, and I'm DMing 3 of them and playing in 3 others.
So do you prefer to DM or do you prefer to be a role player?
It is something where, I think, again, like, with the same thing where, like, the best teachers do and the best doers teach, you know, that same thing. The best DMs play and the best players DM. You know, like, not to be like, I'm the best player, but, like, it just puts you in a different mindset where, well, no, like, we were joking about it the other day. It's like, hey, guys, we won D&D! You know, like, and it's not possible. But, it's something where I love both for such different reasons, where like getting to be the DM is just making sure that all my friends are having a good time, making a bunch of silly voices, and then, you know, getting through things and having that awesome story and giving them those incredible visceral moments, you know. But then playing is that you get to experience those and you get to really dive deeply into like a person. Like and I can't recommend looking into these things enough. The one that really is near and dear to my heart is Mr. Brennan Lee Mulligan, who is the dungeon master for College Humor's game, which is Dimension 20. Another plug, check them out, everybody. They are, for my money, Brennan Lee Mulligan is my favorite DM in the world. I got to meet him when they did a live game in Brooklyn, and I don't get nervous to like talk to people and do things. It was the kind of thing where I was like, hi, hi, I love you, please, you know. But it was like this whole thing, right? I was really like, and my girlfriend was there, and she was like, you have to calm down. And I was like, I'm just so nervous, you know. But that's something where he does. Not only is there amazing actual play series, but they do like a hour-long interview with people who are like in the community and talk about different aspects of it. And the one that sticks in my mind is that there's a possibility of working through like your own trauma and like other things, where like things in your life. So it's also therapeutic in like a ridiculous way, where like one of, just to say that one of the longer games that I played, like a friend of mine and I had like such a ridiculous connection with our characters, and then her character died in the game, and like I was trying to save them, and it was this thing where like I, as Leo, like not as Lorien Thunderclass Bard and Entertainer Extraordinaire, but as Leo, I was not okay for like 2 weeks. Like I was just sitting around like, oh my god, like it was just the most awful thing where like I was feeling these things, and it was something where it came from this role playing, came from being this character, you know, in this world. And it was something where, you know, like my dungeon master was like so proud. He's like, oh, I'm so proud of you guys. And I'm like, no, screw you. You've broken me. Like I just wanted to come have a fun time with my friends, sing silly songs as a bard, and, you know, do things, and you've made me feel, you know, like, and that's and, you know, that's really the amazing hook that I think a lot of people experience with Dungeons and Dragons.
That's awesome. That is, man, you know that you've really, like, you've gotten something when you feel that you're attached to that character, and not only you're attached to your own character, but attached to somebody else's character, and that definitely plays into that actor's role. Yeah. So we're actually running a little bit low on time, but I wanted to make sure that if there's any way to contact or follow you, that any of our listeners have an opportunity to do so. So how would I follow you, Leo?
Well, my number is, no, I'm kidding.
Ladies,
I am primarily active on Instagram at the Brute Squad Bard. which, yes, is a reference to this character that we were just talking about, and that is the Brute Squad Bard. And that's, I use Twitter from time to time, but not very regularly, exact same name. But hey, I am also on Casting Call Club at Leonid Lawrence, and hey, I'm around.
Yeah, well, awesome. Leo, thank you so much for interviewing with me. Thank you so much for playing Santa in the upcoming episode of The War for December. I think that's what we're going to end up naming it, The War for December.
Yes, of course.
Thank you, Leo. In the show notes, you will find links to get in contact with Leonid Lawrence and how to get in contact with us at Mercury Theater Podcast. Until the 30th, I'm John Badger.